Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Tim's Vinyl Confessions. Really excited to bring this to you. Matt,
guys, I'm here. I just got Tim's message about the gang's all here. We're gonna tear some stuff down. I'm just getting my colors on here. Give me a sec, sorry. One sec. Talk amongst yourselves. All right.
Okay. Okay.
We're ready to rumble.
All right.
Just kidding.
That's good. So that sets the scene. No, we this has been I think I pre-ordered this in March. But what we're here to talk about, if you haven't already read the underneath here, we're here to talk about the new Skid Row album, The Gang's All Here. And man, this album's been a long time coming. There's Jax's copy. And yeah, we're here to get everybody's take on it. I a few things to talk about as far as what led up to it, because it's been a really long time since we've had any new recordings from Skid Row. There's been band member changes, and the result of it is it's finally out here now, and we're going to find out what we all think of it. So at this point I'm going to turn over to Matt. Take it away.
So we're talking about The Gang's All Here. This is Skid Row's sixth album, of course, the first one with Eric Gronwall. Ooh, Tim's got an awesome vinyl copy. Excellent. I'm really glad actually to a bunch of us pre-ordered it from our local record companies, local record stores. I'm glad the copies actually came in, so that's really cool. This one is on Ear Music, which is like a pop rock label act. They do Alice Cooper, they've got Deep Purple, Joe Satriani. And now this one was produced and engineered by Nick, is it Raskulenix?
Raskulenix,
yeah. So he's a songwriter in Nashville. I believe Rachel Boland's been in Nashville for quite a while. The members of the band are all over. But he actually got his start. He was an assistant at the famous Sound City recording studio. So that's where Nick got his start. And he's now gone on to work with Rush. He's worked with Alice in Chains. Everybody knows him through working with the Foo Fighters and Evanescence and that sort of thing. So yeah, really excited to talk about this album and see what you guys think about it. I did find it kind of curious. The album's actually been out a week now as of when we're recording this. There's still no wiki entry for the album, which I thought was kind of weird. You can't really find a lot of info about it.
Yeah, somebody's going to get on that.
Yeah.
Jax, can you get on that?
I'll do my best.
This is our turning it over to Jax. Jax, I like your setup there in the back too.
Yes, this is all I have from Skid Row so far, the Bach year.
Yeah.
So just to give our viewers a little bit of context, Tim and Matt and Will, they know this about me. The viewers might not. I don't really listen to newer music or modern music. Anything post 2000, I mean, it happens every now and again, but overall, I'm stuck in like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, but after 2000, for me, it all depends. So for me to be excited about a brand new album is something to mark the calendar, because it doesn't happen very often. So, and also in terms of Skid Row, as you can see here, I've always focused on the Bach years, everything after that, no disrespect to Johnny Salinger or anything else. It just wasn't the same. So I've loved this. And I always thought, you know what, they're never gonna get my interest with new material. Enter Eric Gronwall. And talk about game changer. Like when that first single came out in March, The Gang's All Here, I went into it kind of skeptical. I'm like, I'll listen to it and then forget completely about it. And just upon that beginning and his little I was like, okay, I'm listening. And then I listened to the song. I was like, I think Skid Row is back. And then with a single that followed, Tear It Down, I was like, I want this album. So Tim was nice enough to pre-order one for me as well. And yeah, that's history. That's history. I don't want to say too much of it yet. We're going to go track by track, I believe. But those are my thoughts. I'm very excited about this album.
Will.
Yes. So I won't start off with too much because I know we're going to go through. But similar to Jax, I wasn't super optimistic about new Skid Row album, because when I saw that Def Leppard and Skid Row were both releasing a new album this year, I had way more faith in Def Leppard to release a good album based on the last 30 years or 20 years. But after the first album, or after the first single came out, The Gang's All Here, I felt a lot better about it. And then as we waited for months, I got less and less excited about it. But we'll find out what the final consensus was once we go through. So I'll leave it at that for now.
So I just want to bring things up to speed, and I know that the diehard Skid Row fans watching know the story, have been following, but so Skid Row, basically after Subhuman Race in 1995, they toured that. We're not getting along with Sebastian Bach, famously not getting along. And, 96, they went their separate ways. And in 2000, so the founders, be Dave, Snake Sabo, Scotty Hill, Rachel Bolan, they decided they wanted to reform Skid Row. They got Phil Varone from Saigon Kick on drums, and they got a singer by the name of Johnny Solinger. And sadly, Johnny passed away very, very young. He was only 55. He passed away June 26, 2021. Very, very sad. Gone way too soon. So they ended up opening for the Kiss farewell tour in 2000. I want you to think. 2000. Anyway, so, it was a long wait before new music. You never know if there's going to be new music. And then 2003, we get Thick Skin. Now, I've listened to this a couple times this week getting ready for this. I still think this is a really good album. I bought into it really heavily at the time, even bought Matt and I both got the Under the Skin, the documentary, which I don't know how easy this is to find these days. And I liked the album. And the only caveat is I like the album in much the same way as the 1994 Motley Crue album with John Corabi. Good album. Doesn't really sound like the band that's on the cover. Doesn't really sound like Skid Row. But good album. Then in 2006, this thing comes out, Revolutions Per Minute. And so, dog owners, you recognize these, right? You recognize what these are for? This is Revolutions Per Minute. This is the type of stuff that you put in these bags.
Oh, that was good.
Garbage. Terrible album. No disrespect to Johnny. Awful. The one saving grace on the album is their cover of Strength by The Alarm. Hate the album. Hate it so much.
That's not even that much of a saving grace.
No. It's like the one thing that doesn't make me want to puke. So then they start doing something again. Many years, 7 years go by. In 2013, this comes out, United World Rebellion, Volume 1, 5-song EP. The very next year, Rise of the Damnation Army, United World Rebellion, Chapter 2. So the plan was they were going to start doing a series of these EPs. Now, okay, these EPs, I think they're okay. I think they're just okay. Okay. So again, I have to stress this. No disrespect to Johnny Solinger, because that guy walked into what would have been the most thankless job in the world. Nobody, would have expected him to have universal acceptance by people that'd be like, if Sebastian Bach's not in the band, I don't care. I don't like this guy. I don't know him, but I don't like him. How dare he take Sebastian's place? Even though people forget Sebastian was not the original singer for Skid Row. But here's the thing that happened, and I kind of blame the band for letting it happen. Johnny had a little touch of that country thing going on. When he put that damn cowboy hat on, then you get abominations like You Lie on Revolutions Per Minute, which is just a throwaway, dumb, stupid. I don't like it at all. Thick Skin, decent album. Didn't really sound like the band. Revolutions Per Minute, terrible. Less said about it, the better. The EPs were just okay. Sounded good for an indie band, okay? They did not sound competitive. Now, bring it up to the present. bring it up to this. Okay. I think that Eric Gronwall is the MVP of this album. And
Totally.
no disrespect to anybody that any of his predecessors, he's stepping into Sebastian Bach's shoes. He's not stepping into Johnny's shoes. He's not stepping into Tony Harnell's shoes. And he's certainly not stepping into ZP Thirt's shoes. He's stepping into Sebastian's shoes, and he is owning it. Up until the beginning of last year, they were still doing shows with ZP Thirt. And as a fan, I was never sold on that guy, ever. He's a perfectly fine vocalist, but it was very, very much like when Journey were touring with Jeff Scott Soto on vocalist. Had nothing to do with his vocal abilities. He was the wrong guy for the band. Just flat out the wrong guy for the band. And I think the band knew it. I don't think there was ever going to be new Skid Row material with ZP. I really don't think so. I know they started recording, but I really have to think it was Nick Raskulinecz that sat down and said, guys, if you do this, it'll be like the EPs. It'll be perfectly fine, modern sounding hard rock. It will have no identity to it. With Eric behind the vocals now, behind the mic, they now sound like a band whose debut album sold 5 million copies, whose follow-up album sold 2 million copies, and even put out a covers EP that still managed to go gold. This new album is a competitive album on that level. It sounds amazing. It's got great songs. And in a perfect world, this would be a hit album. Skid Row is officially back.
Awesome, Tim.
And with that, let's do a track by track. And I'll let Matt start us off with the opening cut, Hell or High Water.
Yeah, right on. We've got 10 tracks to talk about. The first one, Hell or High Water. It's about 4 minutes and 40 seconds long. And I'm going to give you a little bit of just who wrote the song, how long it is, say a few things about the lyrics and stuff, and then hand it over to Jex and Will to give their input too. Hell or High Water was written by Bolin and Sabo. So there's your classic songwriting partnership. I really like the, it starts out, it's telling like a Skid Row-ish type of song. Trip the wires down around my feet, setting fires up and down the street, calling shotgun with no one at the wheel. I really like this tune. At about 2 minutes and 29 seconds, though, I wasn't expecting it to kind of break down into like a subhuman racist kind of Eileen sort of thing. Like it slows down a little bit. It's got 2 killer solos, and then it ends with like a drum flurry, like a classic 80s hard rock kind of flurry. So those are my thoughts on Hell or High Water.
So basically, I just think this song, it opens the album beautifully. From the opening note, it's nice and heavy, and it reminds the listener why they're into Skid Row in the first place. It's like, okay, this is what I've been wanting. This is what we should have got in, like, if it were to be released in 96 or 97, right after Subhuman Race. This is what we've been waiting for. And right out of the gate, you can detect just a great dynamic between Gronwall and the band. There's a beautiful flow, and he's belting the vocals, and they're backing him up with the backup vocals, and I really like that back and forth. So right out of the gate, I'm like, it sounds great. They really work as a unit, as a band. I remember thinking how even this early in the album, the chemistry was going to be great, and spoiler alert, it stays that way throughout. Those are my thoughts, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Will.
So for me, it's all downhill from here for one reason, and that's because this is my favorite song on the album. So when I turned this on after listening to the singles, I was just, I didn't know what to say, because it's catchy but not repetitive so much. It stays on the heavier side. It shows that Eric can sing and that he's here to do well and bring that old Skid Row sound back. Like Matt said, it goes into that old school sound some, has a really good solo. So after this song, I was way more invested in listening to the rest of the album. So it's my favorite song for sure. I think it should have been the first single, but
Yeah.
So I've heard this said before, and but I was already thinking it. To me, this album sounds like, honestly, it could have come right in between the first and second album. It's got the melody that made everybody like them from the get-go, and it's got the heaviness of Slave to the Grind. And another thing I want to say about Eric, I mean, his story is pretty incredible. He's just a young guy. He's gone through cancer, beaten that, and you couldn't really make it up. His inadvertent audition for this band was him singing 18 in Life. And it's a tough catalog. It's a tough catalog to sing. And, and he just nails it. And this first song, it is catchy. It's got the gang vocals you want from a Skid Row song. You just feel like an old friends come back to visit, as far in the form of the band. And another thing I'm gonna say again about Eric, and maybe it's because he's European, or he's Swedish, right? He's Swedish.
Yep.
Not 1 ounce of country in him, because for some reason these veteran bands, some of them have that tendency to get into that bro country, new country thing, like Tesla, and of course Bret Michaels, and it swallowed Bon Jovi whole. Not a trace of that here. This guy wants to rock. He wants to do hard rock bordering on heavy metal. He's got the grit in his voice, but he can deliver a melody. And this is a perfect opener. It just sets the scene nicely. I don't think it's my favorite on here. I don't know what to me, there's a lot of contenders on here for favorite track. So now we're going to move on to the first song all of us heard, the title song, The Gang's All Here. Matt.
Oh man, it keeps going from here. And by the way, guys, well said on that first song. Something curious about The Gang's All Here, if you look at the credits, Paul Taylor from Winger is noted as the first songwriter. So I remember hearing a bit about them writing with Paul and him helping them identify some of the elements that would make like the classic sound of Skid Row. And he's like, I think they had sort of the bits of this song together already, but Paul came in and the producer and like, no, this is what sounds like Skid Row, guys. And when you're in a band and you've been in this band, I guess they've been in it for like 30-ish, almost 40 years, you're kind of maybe too close to the material a little bit, and you kind of forget what made you great in the beginning. So anyway, I love The Gang's All Here. I still think it's probably my favorite song from the album. We've been really frothing at the bit here. We had this song like almost 7 months ago, and I was just thinking, man, if the rest of the album is only half this good, this is going to be really cool. I'm not a huge fan of they made a video for this. It's one of those kind of fan-made things, and I get the idea, The Gang's All Here, showing all the crowd. It's not really my favorite video clip they've done, but that's nothing to do with the song. I know someone's going to mention a little bit about maybe some of the characters that they brought back. I'll leave that for someone else to talk about, one of the characters from one of their other songs. There is a little bit in this song where Eric goes, "Ha ha, all right." And it reminded me a little bit of Rattlesnake Shake. So it's a very singable song. I like a lot of these songs. It's so singable. I'm just going to hand it over to Jax to talk about The Gang's All Here.
Yeah, so the single that started it all back in March, like I said, it was a long time coming, and it was perfect. I think the way they did that, the way they released it so early, it I don't know, it was great, because it could have gone either way. Like, oh, it's a great single, and then the album's not that great, but it made us wait for this wonderful album. And this song alone, it's just a great rock anthem. You listen to it, it's just like fist pumping in the air. It's perfect. It's Skid Row. Once again, I can't stop saying that. I can't stop saying that. It's just Skid Row. It's loud, it's catchy, and it's fun. And there have been complaints by fans. Some fans are complaining, what's with the title? The Gang's All Here. The gang's not all here. Like, it's misleading. They're like, it sounds like it's a reunion album, but I think it's most likely a jab, because there's no secret. They do that a lot. The band will jab towards Sebastian Bach and whatnot. And I try not to, it doesn't bother me. I still think it's a good title, and it's kind of them proving themselves. Like, hey, this is the new gang, and here we are. And it's a good single. I thought I'd get tired of it, but the more I listen to the album and it comes on, I love it. And I think that's all I have to say about that one. It's just a great rock anthem.
So I guess I'm going to be that guy as usual and have to nitpick a little bit because you guys are way too excited about this album. The
Boy,
gang's
look
all
at the
here.
time, guys. It's been great. Thanks for watching.
Oh yeah, okay. So I talked about this when it came out months ago. We had the same discussion. The
Yeah, if you
chorus,
guys think Will has hot takes on these episodes, you should see our messenger conversations back and forth. This is nothing.
the chorus is just so repetitive and it sounds like borderline basic. And I get what they wanted to do. Let's release the title track. Let's make it catchy. Let's make it people want to listen to it. And then once I listen to it, and listen to it again, and listen to it again, I haven't listened to it probably since March. Because I knew that it would just be one of those songs that I got tired of because it's just so boring in the chorus section. However, listening to it through the album, I don't skip it. I like it. It's a good song. I just think the chorus could have been a little something different somewhere. Not even all of them. Just pick a chorus and make that one different a little bit. But it is a good song, and I like that it's the anthem style. I get what they were trying to do. I get why it was the first single. It wouldn't have been my pick, but it makes sense for what they were trying to accomplish.
I will say real quick, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, Will, I am glad they didn't open the album with this song. I thought that's what they were going to do, and it doesn't feel like the opener. They did the right thing with opening with Hell or High Water, because this single, Gangs All Here, works so much better. It just flows right into track 2. It's a perfect flow. It wouldn't have worked as track 1, I don't find.
I agree.
You know, not unlike Slave to the Grind, this the song is the second song on the album. Right. Nothing in common musically, but so this song, okay, I understand the repetitive nature of it. And what I think what they were doing is they wanted to create a new anthem, easy to remember, so that they go play live, people will know this song right away and they'll shout it back at them. And I can't see it not working. And the other thing I noticed about the video, the videos they put out from this, like we'll get into the other singles, but yeah, it's my least favorite of the videos from a strictly visual point of view. But if you watch this first video that came out and then the rest of them, Eric is so much more confident in the later videos. Like he's found his footing with the band. It's amazing. They barely met until they started, like they had a residency in Vegas with Scorpions, and they hadn't even met till like 3 days previous. It could have been a disaster, but it worked. I like the song. The repetitive nature of it. I understand that, but we're all Kiss fans, so we should be used to repetitive songs. But I really think that more than anything, they were gearing it for the stage, for the live show, for an audience participation thing. And in that case, I think it works extremely well. So, there's a lot of songs on here that are like a statement of purpose. And I would definitely put the next song in that category. And I just will say real quick about the whole Gangs All Here thing. I think what they're referring to, I don't think it's a jab at Sebastian or anybody. I think it's saying the spirit of this band and what made people fall in love with this band is back. And I like the fact that they've welcomed Eric in. They're all dressed the same on the cover. I've heard it said it's maybe a kind of a reverse reference to the cover of the first album, but I don't know. It works for me. It just works. So, Not Dead Yet, track 3, Matt.
So Not Dead Yet is actually the shortest song on the album. It just squeaks in at 2 minutes and 49 seconds. This one's another Bolin and Sabo, but actually ZP Third has a writing credit on here as well. It kind of opens with a really cool riff, but then it's got some slide guitar in the background, something that you don't always hear with Skid Row songs. And I did want to mention, you were talking about how they brought Eric in. By now, as of filming this video, they've done about 45, 46 live shows with Eric. And the day that this album came out, they did a live stream, kind of a chat with the band and asked them some questions. And Eric actually said, Not Dead Yet is the song. It's his favorite on the album and the one he's most excited to play live for the fans. Because, if you know Eric's story, he suffered from leukemia. He was diagnosed like back in the fall of last year. I think he looks pretty good. He looks to be staying healthy. But you know, the lyric, "Don't throw dirt on an open casket." It's also got one of my favorite choruses. I find a lot of these choruses really singable on this album. Hand it over to you, Jex.
That's
Well,
such a
you see the
Skid
word-
Row line, that "don't throw dirt in an open casket." That's like, hit me with a shovel because I can't believe that I dug you. That's sort of.
Well, I was going to mention that very lyric. I love that. Like in the chorus, like, "Don't throw dirt on an open casket." I'm like, oh, that's great. That's a strong statement. And you know, I haven't really sat and like listened carefully to all the lyrics yet. I've heard some, so I'm not quite sure what the message they're going for. But the way I kind of interpret it is that I feel like it's directed towards the fans, kind of like myself, who consider Skid Row to be dead since the departure of Sebastian Bach. And this is them saying, no, we're not dead yet. You know, we're still here. We're still doing our thing. You know, maybe that's not the message. That's kind of the way I took it. I'm like, okay, and message received. You know, they are in fact not dead yet, and they're proving that very well here. Yeah, and then that lyric, "Don't throw dirt on an open casket." It's just it's a great song. It's a great song. Will.
So when this album came out, I actually worked from home that day, so I listened to it pretty much most of the day. But when this song came on, this is when I realized like they released the wrong singles if they wanted to show that they were still heavy and that old classic sound. Because we'll get to the later singles after, but this is one like super heavy and is catchy but short, so it doesn't just drag on. I wish they would have picked different songs, but this, like, yeah, I don't have much. You guys basically covered it, but this is a really good song on the album.
Yeah, I can't really add too much. I do like the little. I mean, who better than Eric that has a right to sing a song? "I'm not dead yet." You know, he beat cancer. You know, he's done it. But I like what does he say at the end? You know, "but you sure give it a good try," or something like that. That's his sort of aside that he throws in. Yeah, I don't have anything. I can't add anything to what's already been said, because mostly I'm really excited to get to the next track, which again, referring to our messenger conversations. I went out of my way to not listen to this. You know, when the songs would come out on YouTube and stuff, other than "The Gang's All Here" and then one other song. So Matt would keep coming at us with "tick, tick, tick, tick." And I'm like, okay, we'll find out what he means by that. Next track, "Time Bomb." Matt, take it away.
Yeah, "Time Bomb" was solely written by Rachel Bolan, and it's the most recent single. I think they did a video for it back in September. Rachel Bolan actually co-directed the video with a guy who does videos for Five Finger Death Punch and Guns N' Roses. Interestingly, part of the video where you see like each of the individual band members are sat in a chair and they're kind of watching weird stuff on like a old fashioned TV, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of parts from the Welcome to the Jungle video. Yeah. So again, as of filming this video, I noticed that "Time Bomb" has just over 245,000 views in just a few weeks. And it's almost as much as all the other songs. Like, it's got more views than "The Gang's All Here." So this one's really catching on for them. I did actually happen to watch a few live performances of this song. And so sometimes I'm trying to pick out who's doing the solos. Is it Snake or is it Scotty? So at least when they perform it live, Snake's doing the first solo and then Scotty does the second solo. And Dave actually said this was the song he is most excited to play live for fans. So Jex, what do you think of "Time Bomb"?
Oh, "Time Bomb." This is the song that gets my head banging every time. Like, I've listened to this song while walking, you know, on headphones. I've listened to it in the car, and without any fail, every time it comes on, I just, not without even noticing, I'm like, you know, because it starts with that really like heavy riff, and the pounding drums, and then it just stops for the bass all by itself. Boom, 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 and then with that little whisper, I'm like, oh, this is just amazing. This is just, I love it. I love the way it's all laid out. And yeah, I can't get enough of it. Like, it just gets my head banging. And it was the third single released, as you mentioned. And I, kind of like Tim, I didn't avoid it, but I'm like, I'm gonna wait. I heard the two first singles. I wanted to wait, get the album, and really be surprised and enjoy it as a whole. And so yeah, when that song came on that first time, I was walking, listening to it. I'm like, wow, this is good. If this would have been, well, part of me kind of wishes it was the first single, but at the same time, no, because it might have set the bar too high, and then the other ones might have paled in comparison. But yeah, again, this is what Skid Row is all about. So, oh, and also, yeah, I've listened to it several times now, and I kind of hear in Eric's voice a hint, just a small tiny hint of Dio when he hits those high notes.
Okay.
Like nothing he sounds exactly like him, but I feel like he could pull off a Dio cover or a Dio era Sabbath cover. And he might have already. I know he does cover songs on YouTube. I haven't looked
He
it up.
has done I don't know if it's Rainbow in the Dark. Yeah, he has done Dio covers. Yeah.
See, that doesn't surprise me because he has that voice where he could actually pull it off.
Yes.
So yeah, favorite song in the album for me, Time Bomb.
That's interesting because my first note here sounds like the intro sounds like Mob Rules Sabbath era intro.
There you go.
That's what as soon as the vocals start, that's all I hear is like that Dio Sabbath era sound, which is cool. And like you said, the intro's heavy and laid out well. And boy, those tick-ticks suck. Those drive me nuts. My issue with it is I'll listen to it and it sounds cool and I think it's annoying, and then I'll immediately listen to it again and sing it. So it's kind of a love-hate. But honestly, for me, if you took the 8 really quiet tick-ticks out and replaced it with 4 loud, like heavier, deeper ones, I think it would have worked better, in my opinion. I think. Kind of like I know we half joked about this, but Saliva's click, click, boom. Like that pace of the click, click in this song, I think would have worked better. But I love this song. I love this. I hate the tick ticks, but then I listen to it again and sing them. So maybe I don't hate them. Maybe I just think I do. I don't know. I'll leave it at that. But they drive me nuts sometimes. But I do love this song.
Again, I think it's built for the stage. And I can just picture a crowd of people just wanting to just shout out the chorus.
Yeah, but why didn't they shout it in the song though? Who's gonna whisper it live?
I think it's I think it's like to set up, what's coming. It's for the sake of dynamics. But when I first heard the song, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, now okay. And then of course every hour or so I'd be like. And Matt's like, I used to like that song. I guess this is a good too. I mean, there's no real place to mention it, but I also like the alternative cover that's on the CD booklet. That would work in and of itself too. I like the cover art that they went with, but Matt also raised a good point, and I'll do this. I'll hold up the cover of the vinyl and the CD, and Matt said, "Dudes, pick a red."
Yeah,
because on the CD the logo is so much brighter. It's such a lighter color, and it's more of a brick color in here. Anyway, that's all minor. Time Bomb. Yeah. I again built for the stage. It's simple, it's easy to remember, and I can just picture. And again, I said this too in the chat. Very few bass players look any cooler than Rachel when he's just doing his thing on stage. The guy's he just oozes coolness. I've always thought that. I've never really understood the nose ring thing, but he looks so cool playing his Spectre basses. So next up is, I saw an interview that Mitch LaFon did with Snake talking about this. And he said his only complaint about the album is that he thinks this would have been a more appropriate title track. And kind of see his point, but I like what they called it. Resurrected. Matt, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, so I'm actually still waiting to try and get my copy on vinyl, but I went on Google Images and I did find out that Resurrected starts side B of yeah.
That's interesting.
It's mentioned on the hype sticker as a hit single. This is probably is it not the start of side B?
Yeah, no, you're right. They
yeah, and
I just noticed this.
4 songs on one side.
Tracks 5 and 6 on the CD are reversed.
Oh, okay.
That's really
yeah.
interesting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Resurrected's kind of like a band. So whereas Not Dead Yet, I kind of felt like that was Eric coming out specifically and kind of talking about himself there, whereas Resurrected is like a band mission statement. we're not playing dead. That's all in their head. Now is the time to see we're resurrected. So Bolin, Hill, and Sabo, what do you guys think of track 5, Resurrected?
Well, to me, when it opens up with those guitars, that riff, it has like a Maiden-like feel to it. It kind of almost sounds a little like Iron Maiden influences peppered throughout. And I hear a specific Maiden song, but I can't put my finger on it. I feel like there's like an influence here on a specific song, and I can't place it. But I like it. I like the song. Again, the title, I can't help but thinking it's a little bit of a bash towards Sebastian, like, hey, we're resurrected now, we're back from the dead, better than ever. Again, that might not be it at all. It's just kind of my interpretation of it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Good song. I really like it. It keeps the consistency of everything we've spoken about up until this point. Like, the album is very consistent in terms of being a rocker. So yeah, good song.
I agree. I think this is a good song. I do think the hype sticker makes no sense that the Gang's All Here is not on it, but Resurrected is. Like, did they think that they were gonna make the title that at one point?
I
don't know.
changes.
Maybe because the hype sticker is like they totally forgot the Gang's All Here was even a thing. But whatever, that's besides the point.
Good point.
But yeah, this is a good song. I think it stays consistent with the flow of the album. I don't think if I would see, that's the thing, is if I was going to pick these singles, this still wouldn't be my pick. So obviously me and the band are not on the same wavelength, and that's probably the only reason I'm not singing for them. Definitely not my vocal ability. But yeah, it's a good song, keeps the flow, and I'll leave it at that, I guess.
Yeah, the hype sticker, let's talk about that a little bit. You know, Hard Rock Royalty, Resurrected, the rock album of 2022, produced by Nick Resculence, including the hit singles. Now that's ballsy, you know, but I don't take it as a snide thing. I take it as they've got so much confidence. They're proud of what they've done, and they're like, you know, before you make any judgment, just listen to this album. And like Jack said, you know, a lot of people tuned out after Sebastian left. And I can understand if they weren't willing to slog through really not a lot of new music, but I think that they might find this a worthy addition to their collection. And let's not forget, you know, as far as, you know, sending jabs Sebastian's way, he's thrown an awful lot of crap at them too in the press and blabbermouth. I mean, you know, joking about, well, I'm not playing, you know, bowling alleys. Well, neither are they. And as it's funny because Rachel Bolan once posted a photo, and I don't know who they were opening for or touring with, but it was a pretty big crowd. And he's just looking at the crowd, and the caption said, "Not a bowling alley in sight." So yeah, that happens with, you know, former bandmates, right? And it always will. I really like this song. I'm glad they didn't go with it as the title song, because I think that The Gang's All Here works better as a catchphrase, as a title, something that's easy to remember. So, but it is definitely, like Matt said, a mission statement. And like I said, this would be, you know, okay, if you haven't bought Skid Row since Subhuman Race, at least give this one a shot. It sounds like Skid Row. They worked really, really hard for memorable choruses, but it's still got all the heavy riffs you could want from them. They were just such a perfect blend of hard rock teetering on the heavy side, but always with a foot in the melodic side. And listen, you know, Sebastian Bach was one of a kind, and everybody thought the same thing when they came out. It's like, listen to this guy sing, you know, like so much finesse in his vibrato. It's the first time I ever watched someone sing. I think at the end of the 18 in Life video, and it's like that. I'm like, wow, like, you know, the trained vocalist, right? You know, so yeah, he was one of a kind. It didn't work out, you know, it just didn't work out. So they've got a guy now that can take that legacy and run with it. And he's a young guy, so he should have those pipes for many, many years to come. So now let's talk about, now that we know, this is actually the last song on side 1 of the vinyl, but track 6 on the CD, Nowhere Fast, Matt.
Nowhere Fast, interestingly, they co-wrote, the first writer is Johnny Andrews. He's another singer, songwriter, record producer out of Nashville, Tennessee. He's had all kinds of #1 hit singles with 3 Days Grace. He's worked with Hailstorm, Apocalyptica, Gavin Rossdale. So there's where they're coming out with that. Actually, I think he's even worked with Corey Taylor of Slipknot. Nowhere Fast, it's got a little bit of Piece of Me in the beginning with some of the bass stuff. I kind of find overall the song is a bit of like more like a Subhuman Race style song. And to be honest, it's actually, I wrote down, this is my least favorite song on the album. I don't mind it, it's not my favorite, but oddly, it's got the whoa, whoa, the step, the very late 80s kind of hard rock gang chorus stuff. So that's kind of my favorite part of the song. But Jex, what did you think of Nowhere Fast?
Well, I realized upon listening to you that my notes were wrong, because I wrote my notes assuming this opened side 2 on the vinyl, because I only have the CD. It's track 6, so doing the math, split it in 10 divided by 2. This should open side 2.
I've honestly never seen this happen before.
No, me neither. So I assume, like, because listening to it, I'm like, this sounds like a side opener. It's so good and powerful. It feels like, okay, you're on side 2 now, but now you've proven me wrong that they switch. I didn't know that, but yeah, it's got that powerful. It's just a powerful track.
I keep looking at it. Am I looking at this right? But yeah, it's
yeah, it's weird that they would choose this to end side 1. To me, it's a side opener. But other than that, yeah, like the previous track, it's a great one. The consistency continues. It's just a great rocking track. Nothing more to add about Nowhere Fast. I like it.
For me, this is kind of where the consistency stops, but in a good way, because it has what other songs I think are missing in that change in pace for the choruses. It sounds different. It slows down for the choruses and then ramps up and then kind of slows down for the verse. And then like it's not just the constant anthem type I don't want to say trying too hard because it works for a lot of people, but like this change in pace, I think it falls in a good spot on the CD between 2 faster songs, that it gives some sort of difference in that, like, all these songs aren't going to sound like they're the same formula. So I like the song, and I think it falls in a good spot on the CD. It's hard to compare. I've never listened to them flipped.
No.
I like it. I like this one. This one sticks with me. And maybe, like Will said, maybe that is the reason that they've reversed the order of the songs, because if you're listening to the CD, it's going to just keep playing straight through. But if you're listening to the vinyl, you're going to have to take a pause and flip it over, and then maybe you don't notice the similarity in tempo. No, I really like this one. I don't really have anything to add to it. But to me, it's just the CD's rolling along, and I haven't heard anything that has made me, I don't know about that. So next up, When the Lights Come On, as opposed to Go Down. Matt.
Yeah, so we're in the last third of the album, and I think it's still going strong. When the Lights Come On was solely written by Rachel Bolan. I find it's the poppiest song on the album. I get sort of a little Sweet Little Sister vibe. I'll meet you at the park at 11. Don't be late. You're in the right direction if you follow the lights down Broadway. I think this song actually could have been on the Skid Row debut, or even earlier. It sounds like it could have been on their demos. And to be honest, I freaking love this song. It's probably my 3rd favorite on the album. Jex, what did you think of When the Lights Come On?
Well, like everything you said, I like the story it tells, like, meet me at the park, don't be late. Like, I like that story. It keeps me listening, like, oh, what's going to happen next? And totally agree with what you said, Matt. The whole like kind of pop vibe to it kind of reminded you of Sweet Little Sister. To me, it makes me kind of think of early Motley Crue in a way, like especially the way it opens up. I hear a lot of like early Motley Crue. So yeah, like I said, the influences on this album are tremendous. Like I said, there was some Iron Maiden earlier, a little bit of Crue. It's just great. It's just great. I didn't take many notes for that song, but yeah, it's another good one here.
This song is so good. This is this is what I wish some of the other songs could be in terms. I'm going to go back to the chorus. There's pauses in the instruments, and it's the same chorus because that's what a chorus is, but they change it enough and slow parts down and take instruments out and build back on. This song is so fun and catchy, and it's my 2nd favorite song by far. I like the bass intro, the kind of the build up before it gets fully into the song. Then when the singing starts, everything falls out and it's just the vocals for a second before the guitar comes back in. I think the way they manipulated the instruments with when to stop playing certain things and start bringing in, like that, I don't know, to make that makes the song way more interesting than a lot of the other ones, and I love this song.
I agree, Will. There's a cool sense of dynamics going on here, and Rachel just has a cool turn of phrase. I love some of these lyrics. What is it? You know, scary Uncle Larry's got a 40 of propane. He's taking target practice in the corner of the downtown train. Like, doesn't have to make any sense. And the other one I like is Tommy's at the bar and he's holding us a place. The corner Cleopatra has been giving me the look of deep disgrace. I mean, that's classic Rachel Bolan. That's, you know, took the 515 to Kalamazoo, talking with, you know, did some talking with the back of his hand, smack, like, you know, and hit me with a shovel. Like, he's got a cool, you know, way with words. Honestly, this might be my favorite song on the album. It's so catchy. And again, built for the stage. It could totally fit on that.
This would be a cool opener.
Or
live.
even the even like the demos, like Matt said, if you listen to, you know, the song Forever that ended up on the 40 Seasons best of, it's really poppy. But you know, so if there was a Skid Row album that came out in 87 or 88, this would be like, you know, maybe the heaviest song on it. But no, yeah, it might be my favorite on this album. I really like it. Next up, single number 2.
Yeah, Tear It Down. This one was actually co-written by Marty Fredrickson with Bolan and Hill and Sabo. It starts with a little bit of the kind of "We Will Rock You," boom, boom, ba,
Yeah.
boom, boom, ba. The video for this one came out back in July, and they filmed it in their home state of New Jersey. The background to the video kind of looks like what you see on the album, but they're standing in front of this house that's being tore down. I really like a few different parts in this one. I'm kind of curious to hear what Will says about this song.
Not the rest of us, just Will.
No, but where he's really talking about the you know, the way that the songs pick up and slow down, and it's not just one kind of thing throughout. I really like it's like a pre-chorus of gang vocals. My eyes are bleeding, can't kill the sound. And then I actually noticed that this song seems to be the one that people are really gravitating towards. It's got over 440,000 views on, so they've got it posted on Ear Music's YouTube page where it has 440,000 views. Skid Row's own page, it has 300,000 views. It seems to be the most popular song from the album so far. But Jex, what did you think of Tear It Down?
Well, so this was the second single that came out after The Gang's All Here.
Right.
And when I first listened to it, I wasn't as enthusiastic as I was with the first single. I'm like, it's still good. I didn't enjoy it as much, but it still made me curious. I'm like, I still want to get the album. So, you know, there was still hope there. And having listened to it many times with the full album, it's grown on me. I like it a lot more. And it's worth mentioning too that this is the only track on the album that's labeled as explicit. If you listen to it on Spotify, it's the only one with that little E there, because of the lyric. All my brothers just hear me now. No mother effer gonna tell me how, or gonna tell us how. So it's kind of nice. Like the whole album overall, it's relatively clean, but it's nice in classic Skid Row fashion to have that one song that's kind of, you know, a little more risque, if you will. But yeah, like I said, at first I wasn't too sold on it, but over time it's grown on me, and yeah, I like it. I like it.
And this song is not very good.
Classic Will.
It isn't. I feel like I didn't know it was like one people were going and liking the most, but like after The Gang's All Here came out and then they released this, I'm like, if this is the second best song on the album, we're gonna have some problems, because going back to the other songs I've said, I think we just make way better singles. This song is just it's just boring. Like, if we're talking about repetitive choruses, this one, not only is it repetitive, but it just sucks. I like the pre-chorus. The pre-chorus is cool, and then it goes into, and it's like what, whole chorus is 6 words said like 4 times. I don't know. I'm not gonna hate on it too much because people seem to like it, but man, this song is not it for me.
It is the weakest of the singles. I'll give it that.
It might be my second favorite song on the album. And I watched the video and had a couple just real funny things real quick. First of all, Def Leppard also have a song called Tear It Down. But when I saw the video, I thought of the original UK video for Pour Some Sugar on Me, where they're in a house that's being demolished. That's where the comparison ends. Now, I didn't know this until I got the album and looked through the credits. The fact that it was co-written by Marty Fredriksson might have given me reason to be concerned, because Marty Fredriksson has been a co-writer on many of the worst Aerosmith songs of the last 2 decades. He's just not.
Well, he nailed it with this.
Well, the chorus is definitely catchy and easy to remember. There's something I like about it, is the fact that you've got the gang vocals, you've got the lead vocal, and they're kind of like interweaving. You know, you could tear it down, ba da 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 da, right now, ba da da da, tear it, like it comes right back again. But and yeah, he drops an F-bomb in here, but it's a little bit, you almost don't notice it. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of hidden. It's not like it's part of the title. No, I really like this one. Again, I think it's built for the stage. The fact that Marty Fredriksson co-wrote it tells me they might have been going for maybe some radio airplay with this. It's not going to happen because they're in a veteran band, unfortunately. But it does give me hope that so many people have watched this video. I mean, if everybody that watched these videos buys the album, they could have a gold record again.
That's right.
The odds are against it, but you know, I'm the thing is, I'm rooting for these guys. I'm rooting for these guys. We, you know, stuck with them through the lean years where it was like, wow, I don't know really what they're doing, and then they're just touring their, you know, faces off. But yeah, it might be my second favorite. It's the song I definitely get in my head the most. So now for a complete change of pace, the one ballad on the album, it's still a pretty heavy one, October's Song. Matt, talk to us about this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pull a bit of a Will here. This is October's Song. It's over 7 minutes long, so it's like the longest song on the album. Again, co-written by Bolan, Sabo, and ZP Tharp has a co-write on here. It's got kind of a waltzy sort of pace to it. For my mind, like when a Skid Row ballad has some kind of expectation to it. We've had the I Remember You, and In a Darkened Room, Quicksand Jesus, Wasted Time, you know, Into Another. Those are really heavy songs to compete with as far as ballads and Skid Row goes. I don't love this ballad. I find the pace never really changes or builds at all in this song. There's no kind of real build up to it at all. There are some really killer vocals on this song, but I find they're a little bit buried by the heavier music. I kind of wish that they at least mixed up Eric's vocals a bit more prominently. And then there's like some solo bits on it. I also like when Skid Row does a ballad, I'm also thinking about, like In a Darkened Room, I'm thinking about that really elegant soloing and stuff. And there's none of that really on here. The solo bits that come in at about 3 minutes in this song, almost halfway through, it's more like alt-rocky kind of uncomplicated soloing stuff. Didn't really get me excited. So it's probably my second least favorite song on the album. But what did you guys think of October's Song?
Well, it just kind of hit me actually when you said it's the longest song on the album. It kind of hit me. Maybe that's the reason they had to flip the other two songs for the record.
Oh
to make
yeah,
it
maybe
on side 2. I don't know. It just kind of hit me now. But yeah, so as far as the song goes, when I was first listening to the album in full, I was maybe 4 or 5 tracks in. I started to wonder, hey, I wonder if there's going to be a ballad on here, because Eric has a great voice. We could all agree on that in terms of rocking songs. I'm like, I wonder if he could pull off a ballad. Then I thought to myself, will there even be a ballad on here? Because it's not like we're not the early 90s. It's like when albums had that obligatory power ballads. I'm like, I don't know. And then I get to track 9, October Song. I'm like, there it is. And it answered my question. Yes, I think he could pull off a ballad. He's got a great voice for that slower tempo music. It fit well. And I like the song. I like the song. It's I don't even know if I consider it a ballad. It's more of a slower tempo rock song, because it does really pick up in that second half with the solos, like you mentioned, Matt. And yeah, it's I like it. I think they did what they could. It's a long song, longest on the album, but I really think it's played out well throughout that 7 minutes and whatever it is, 6 seconds. So yeah, and I'm glad it's the only one. There are 3 ballads like Slave to the Grind, but I find it fits in as that one ballad. I think it's good for what it is.
I'm glad that Matt is indifferent on this song because it'll make it sound better when I say this song is horrible.
Ooh.
This song is by far, this is probably the worst song they've done, not on revolutions per minute. This is a terrible song. I am notorious for liking like 35-minute albums, 30-minute albums. If you took this song off, guess how long the album would be? 35 minutes. And that's what they should have done. Because I believe, yes, he could pull off a ballad, but he didn't do it with this one. And I feel bad for the people that really love this album and love Eric's vocals, because so do I. But this song really needed Sebastian, I think. And he was trying to hit, like, you listen to like In a Darkened Room and like those early ballads. I don't know. Sebastian Bach made it. Well, it's Sebastian Bach. It's hard to compare with, but his ballads sounded so different and heavy, and this, I think that's what this song is missing. So I think they should have just left it off altogether. Because when I listen to it, I'm like, man, that one note, Sebastian Bach could have hit that just with his own style, and it still probably wouldn't have worked because the song, I think, is just too long. But yeah, this song, I would have just took it right off. I thought Tear It Down was bad, and then this came on, and yeah, I don't know. That's all I have to say. It's just not it.
This is what gives these shows their real charm, is because we aren't just all on the same page. I don't really have any strong opinions about this song one way or another. I think that reading the lyrics, I think it's a very personal song for someone in the band. I'm just not sure who. It is quite long. It reminds me, I was telling Matt about this. It reminds me about of 2 completely different Queensryche songs by 2 completely different lineups. It reminds me of the song Fallen that was on Jeff Tate's version of the band on the Frequency Unknown album. And it reminds me of the song Bulletproof that's on Condition Unknown from 2015. Both are in that 6/8 waltz time. You know, I think they put it on for variety. And the thing about hiring Eric, you know, you need someone that's going to be able to sing I Remember You and 18 in Life and the heavy song and the heavy ballads that they do and deliver them well. And maybe this isn't the best showcase for his voice. You know, I don't wish it wasn't on the album, but it's definitely not my favorite. So that leaves us with the album closer, World on Fire.
World on Fire, Bolin, Sabo, and ZP Thart. It's kind of funny, Will might laugh at this. World on Fire, Slash did an album with that kind of title, and or it's like, maybe it's like World's on Fire, but the little bit of riff at the beginning kind of reminded me of a Slash song. And I was like, wait, the first time I heard it, I was like, wait, is this still Skid Row? This is one of those climate change, you know, they're talking about climate change stuff. They're talking about a little bit of political turmoil. You know, we need to lay down our arms. World on Fire, turning away is just like watching it burn. I find that the song kind of goes along and then it sort of ends the album abruptly. I know like Will and I weren't really super huge fans of October Song, but if I had my choice, I probably would have put October Song at the end. I like the way that kind of fades out versus this one, just sort of like it's going and just kind of abruptly ends. And I will say, actually, you know, being this is the last song on the album, I'm really excited to see what they do with Eric, you know, in a studio, writing actually songs with Eric. And I'm curious what you guys think of World on Fire.
So straight up, I really like this song. And if I hadn't heard the album, never heard the song, if any of you guys were to make me listen to this, you know, put the headphones on, you tell me this is from 89 or 1990, I believe you. It doesn't sound like a new song. It sounds just like a classic rock song from back in that era in time. And yeah, it's a powerful rocking track. I think it's a great closer. I understand what you mean, Matt. You said maybe like to put October Song last, in your opinion. And I understand that, but I like that last little bit of rock after the ballad. You get one ballad and then you got one last rocking track to close the album. I like that. To me, I think that was a good choice. And I don't really have anything else to add. I like it as a closer. Real good song.
So I think me and Matt are kind of on the same wavelength here. I've instantly made the Slash connection and kind of the sound. And I honestly would agree that they should be flipped so I could just shut the album off after World on Fire is done. But I don't think it's a weird abrupt ending. And with, like Jack said, I like that the last song is fast paced and heavy, like a good heavy rock song. So you're not left on something slow, which could work, but I like the fast heavy song at the end. That's just a personal opinion. Yeah, I really like this song. And that's all I really had to say about it.
Yeah, I like this one. I think they wanted to end the album off on a bang, and they definitely wanted to bring up the tempo back after October's song. Is this the fastest tempo song on here? I think it might be.
Probably.
Yeah, that one, and my notes here.
Because it's not thrash, certainly.
Yeah, Not Dead Yet, too. Kind of.
Yeah, that's got a
Yeah.
pretty high tempo on it too. Yeah, I think it's a good way to close the album. I think overall, like the lyrics are quite good on this album. But Rachel and Snake have always written, I guess, really good lyrics. Like again, with that revolutions per minute, I don't know what happened to them on there. And the other wild thing about that album, I won't waste too much more time on it, but they actually had Michael Wagner produce it. I don't. that whole period was just a mystery to me. Why they even bothered putting a record out at that point. But I was trying to think of their album closers, and it's kind of all over the place how they close their albums, because the first album closed with like half a song and then an instrumental. Slave to the Grind closes with a ballad. Subhuman Race, what's the last song on that? Iron Will?
Yeah.
It's like a heavy one, but it's not a fast one. And the only song I could think of that closes an album fast is Thick Skin, which has that Hitting the Wall, which is kind of the same tempo as World on Fire. No, I like it. I think it's good. I'm glad they put it a 10-song album and not a 15-song album, even though it's been a while. I think it's quality over quantity. And I couldn't be much happier with this. I agree with Matt. I am curious. I hope that it's not 8 years before we hear new music from them again. And I hope it's another one of these with maybe that much more synergy of the singer working with the lyricists instead of just singing what's been written. Yeah, I think it's a fine ender to the album, and I think it's a fine album.
I think for me, even though I had some not great things to say about it, I think this is the third best Skid Row album.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's the first two and then this.
Nice.
So
So-
1, 2, and this.
It'd be 2, 1, and then this.
Yeah, I
But-
agree.
But for me, like, yeah, for entertainment purposes, I feel like I have to nitpick a little bit. But like even my favorite album, there's stuff on it that I might not love. But overall, the album's like really good, and I'm really impressed with it, and glad they came back. And I hope they wait a year or two, not 10 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really impressed, and I didn't expect a lot from it, to be honest, but it's really good overall.
That's
Same. It gives me hope. It gives me hope in Skid Row. Like you guys mentioned, I'm excited to see what they have to offer with Eric, and hopefully it's not too much time. And I feel like he brings a youthful energy to the band too, being younger than the other guys. He brings this. He kind of rejuvenated them, and you feel it in their playing. Like they you can't really tell that they're older guys now, but I don't know. There's that youthfulness within the band that Eric brings, and like Tim said, if he could have a little, because with his life story and everything he's been through, I feel like he could bring stuff lyrically, and I'm excited. Yeah, I hope they bring something else soon, because this got me very excited.
So there you go. I mean, the consensus is we all think it's a pretty good album. Welcome return to form. It's reassuring to see a band that I've been a fan of like since their first album come back such a long time later, going through a lot collectively and putting out a really, really strong piece of work. So that's our opinions on the new Skid Row album. The gang's all here. Really curious what you people out there think of it. And Matt's ready to take on all comers. And so there you go. Thanks everyone so much for watching this edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions. Go out there and check this album out, buy a copy of it. Let's, let's support these bands because we're not always going to have them. All right. So there you go. Thanks everybody for watching this edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions.